Welcome to Diets Are Fattening on YouTube. I'm happy to be here. And today, one of the things we're going to talk about is intermittent fasting and how your healthy thin mentality helps you to do a very normalized, very healthful, very reasonable intermittent fasting. And it is not what you think. So hold on, and I will explain it. I want to welcome you guys who are new. If you guys want to know real quick what the message is here, it's simply that in order to be thin, it's much smarter, much wiser, much more long-term successful to learn how to behave like a thin person instead of dieting and learning how to behave like a dieter. Because after all, we all know that's no fun, right? Being a dieter is about rigid rules and about disconnecting from your body's inborn knowledge and instinct to eat and not eat, and we've lost our way there, but we're going to get it back here by building your healthy thin mentality. So again, real quick, let's talk about intermittent fasting. So of course that's all the rage right now, and there's I see stuff all the time from scientists saying the benefit of doing intermittent fasting in terms of helping your body do cell repair, blah 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 blah. Fine, I get it, but there are two different ways to look at intermittent fasting. One is to follow, a guideline of here's your eating window and all that stuff, or you can do it completely differently and make it a really lovely part of your life that you don't even think about. And the way to do that is to build your healthy thin mentality. So how that works is, let me give you an example. Lots of times intermittent fasting has you have, periods of over 12 hours where you don't eat. And I'll talk about dry fasting in a minute here. But intermittent fasting is elongating the space between eating. Well, guess what happens when you have a healthy thin mentality? You do stuff like this. Like last night, I ate dinner, was finished at around 7:30, and I just didn't eat today until around 11. And obviously, that's a long time between meals. When you have a healthy thin mentality, that's great, and you enjoy that because you're never fearing hunger. You're always like, when I get hungry, I can eat. So you may have a little hint of hunger like I do sometimes, but then you go, I'm just gonna wait until I feel hunger in full force before I eat. And that elongates the stretch between eating. And that is good. And it's when you do it in response to your body and you wanting to do that, and you not listening to a food window or a food rule, and you do it based on how you feel, it is something you can do for the rest of your life. So I'm not saying to you, do intermittent fasting. I'm saying to you, your healthy thin mentality will lead you to intermittent fasting because you will go for longer periods of time without eating because you're never trying to eat preventatively, which we do when we're dieters, or you're not ever fearful of hunger. You're calm. And you know that, hey, I can eat whatever I want when I'm hungry. And I'm feeling pretty good right now. I'm a little hungry, but I'm just going to wait a little bit and let that hunger really bloom, because when hunger is strong, food is amazing. Now, let me make a little caveat here, which is really important. I'm not talking about getting to hangry stage. You're hungry and you're angry because you're hungry and you get hangry. You guys know that term. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about until hunger is awake and alive and feels powerful, but you're not like stressed about it. You're not feeling weak. You're not like totally distracted from any other thought. You're just going, wow, I know I'm going to eat now, and even the thought of food makes your mouth water, and it's going to be great. When you do food rules like intermittent fasting that's based on a schedule, what happens is you train your body to ignore hunger to a degree that then inhibits your ability to connect with your body long term. So you may say, well, yeah, but if I just don't eat for 20 hours or whatever, I'll have all these healing properties in my body. And I've heard all that. I'm not sure it's true, but let's just assume it's true, give the benefit of the doubt. Like I'll have all this cell repair and all that. Yeah, but there's a downside to that. And the downside is that when you do that, your body goes on high alert, and you get in that famine stage where the next thing that happens is that you overeat at the next meal. So like I've seen people who are intermittent fasters write stuff like, I ate, 1,500 calories at one meal, but that's all I ate all day. Well, that's a lot. And that is probably overloading your stomach, depending upon your size and how old you are and if you're a man or a woman. I mean, for me, that would be a lot at one meal. So again, I'm an older woman, so my hunger isn't going to be as strong as like a young guy, right? So remember who you are with this. But for me, I'm saying that would be a lot, and I would be overloading my stomach. And that's just not something you want to train your body to be happy doing. And I've seen some scientists say, oh, but we're feast and famine eaters. Well, I understand, because that is the way it used to be, but that's not the way it is now. And we're not living, thousands of years ago. We're living now. So let's consider the ways to make us happy and healthy and eat properly now, right? And the way to do that is to recognize the beautiful opportunity we have for all these delicious foods, and to train, reconnect with your innate knowledge of when to eat, how much, and what. Reconnect with that, and do that in a gentle, harmonious way. And you will find that you will want to go for long periods of time between eating, because you'll say, well, I'm a little hungry, but I get stuff I'm doing, and if I just wait a little bit, it's going to be so much better, and I'm just going to feel good. It's all about connecting with how you learn you feel the best. And for me, and we're all different, and you have to discover and bring forth your own healthy thin mentality, but just, for me modeling that behavior for you, for me, that going from dinner to eating the next day, 14, 15, 16 hours later, or sometimes 12, depends on activity level and all that. It's good. It feels good. And it's not because I'm trying to be good as I would have when I was a dieter. It's because it just makes the eating experience more pleasurable. It makes you feel good and not bogged down. And it becomes just part of a really normal part of your life. So like when I see people talk about intermittent fasting and some of the benefits, I understand what they're saying. But then they go into, okay, so that's good. So then longer fasting must be better. Okay, well, if you're a Tibetan monk and that's part of your thing, all right. But I'm trying to talk to people now, normal people who are not completely consumed with eating, who don't want to be completely consumed with eating, who want to live a nice life and be in their happy, healthy weight range and enjoy food and enjoy not being stressed. This is who my message is for. People who have been dieters and who notice that over time, you always gain the weight back. So instead of going on intermittent fasting as another diet, as another way to lose weight, instead go, okay, well, there's a principle there of, body not having food for a while, maybe doing some benefit, and I don't even know. Again, I'm just yielding to that, giving the benefit of the doubt there. But don't go about it the way you see advertised online all the time. Don't go about it by boxing yourself in. Just say to yourself, it might feel good just to go a little longer without eating. Again, not hangry, but it might feel good just to wait a little bit. And then when you sit down and eat or stand and eat, it doesn't matter. There's no naturally thin people eat all different kinds of ways. And that's who we're modeling our behavior after, not dieters. We're modeling our behavior after naturally thin people. And they eat all different kinds of ways. Okay, but anyway, so the next time then you eat, you enjoy it so much. You're not guilty. You're not stressed. You're like, hey, I waited for my hunger to really kick in. It has. This is so delicious. When I take a bite of this is so delicious. But then you don't overeat, because that this isn't your, dieting makes you get the last meal before your diet. You get that mentality every time you're eating and enjoying it. Like, well, I'm eating here and it feels really great, and I'm just going to keep eating because I don't know when I'm going to allow myself to, be this free again. But with the healthy thin mentality, you always allow yourself to be free and to enjoy food and to eat whatever you want. So it's never that, Sunday night before the Monday diet, which I know you guys have done, and I was there, hundreds of times, when you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to eat all this food Sunday night because tomorrow's my diet. So it's always negative. When you have a healthy thin mentality, it's always positive. Always, guys, I mean it, always. It's always like, well, I waited for my hunger to bloom. I'm eating. This is amazing. Okay, now it's getting less amazing. Okay, now I'm eating, and it's still pretty food and it's still kind of yummy, but if I could delay eating more until later, two things will happen. One is I won't have overloaded my stomach, so I will perhaps be, leaning towards weight loss as opposed to just homeostasis, staying the same. If you can back away from the table when hunger is quiet, again, that's the best exercise of all, pushing away from the table when hunger is gone. And the next thing that happens is then you say to yourself, instead of looking back with regret, you look forward with joyful anticipation of, wow, okay, that meal was really great, and I ate and I feel pretty good, I feel actually really good, and I'm not going to eat more right now. But I also know that as soon as hunger strikes again, which it will, and we get to do this several times a day, that you'll eat again and it'll be great. So it's dieting is never in the moment and enjoying. It's always like, I'm eating this because I'm in between diets, and yeah, it's good, and but I'm just gonna have to go on a diet again. Or you're on a diet going, oh God, I'm really hungry, and it's 4 o'clock. I can't eat till 6, and you just feel bad. It ruins your life, guys. Don't do it to yourself anymore, because it doesn't work. I mean, if that minimal time that you want to diet, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 months, 6 months, a year, if that worked to solve your problem for the rest of your life, maybe it'd be worth doing. I don't know, but it doesn't, because you always gain the weight back. Did you start this when your kids were young? I started this when I was 40, and my kids at that time were, were 10, 12, and 8. So that's how old they were. And yes, and by the way, I think it's a great gift you can give your children. Like, I never spoke about, dieting and weight loss. I never criticized myself in front of them. These are all really good things you can do. Even though in my head, as I was leaving my diet mentality behind, I had a lot of angst, as I'm sure everyone does when they first start, because you're like, wow, I could have been doing this all along instead of dieting all the time. So even though I had that in my head, don't share that with your kids, because they hear you. Instead, show them the healthful way to eat, like sitting at a table and not finishing everything, and not feeling bad about it, actually feeling like, yeah, well, aren't you going to eat the rest of that? No, I'm not hungry now. You guys enjoy. I'm just going to sit here. Why aren't you eating dinner with us, Mom? Oh, well, they didn't really say that very much, because they learned really quickly after a couple of times. Well, I'm not hungry now. You guys, eat, and then, then maybe I would have eaten while I was making dinner because I was really hungry. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's when your hunger is hitting you and it's strong, and I know that happens to a lot of moms and dads who make food for their kids, that they come home from work and they're really hungry and they're making it and they're trying to wait till dinner. If you have some while you're eating, your body knows that, and your hunger will adjust. So it's not like you're cheating. It's like you're just your hunger's strong and you're satisfying it in that moment, which is what a healthy thin mentality is all about, right? So, but again, my kids didn't ask me that very frequently, because, I answered it once or twice or whatever, then they knew. And that's good for them, and it's good for you. It's good for you to know that the most important thing about eating is being hungry. And if you're not hungry, there's zero reason to eat. And you may say, and I used to think this about myself too, I would always want to eat. I would just always want to eat. Well, you think that because you don't even know yourself anymore. Because again, if you are a dieter, and my message is for people who have dieted themselves heavy over time, heavy and unhappy with their weight over time, you're never just in that normal state of not dieting and not being in between a diet. So you don't even know what you're like around food. So you think all these negative things. Let that go. And with your healthy thin mentality, guys, it goes away, because you're like, well, I actually, like, when I satisfy my hunger with exactly what I want, I'm fine. All right, another example. So the other day, this is the difference between a diet mentality and a healthy thin mentality. I was waiting for my daughter. I was taking her somewhere. She's a big girl now, but I was with her. And we had this really great ice cream in Cincinnati. It's called Graeter's. And I don't even love ice cream, but I love these things called chip wheelies that are ice cream in between two cookies. And I was really hungry, and I just really was craving that. And it also helped, of course, that I was really close to one. So I got out and ate it, and it was so joyful. And, even to this day, almost 20 years into my healthy thin mentality, I still am so happy that I can do that, not feel guilty, enjoy it tremendously, and move on with my day. It is no big deal. And when you have a diet mentality, all those things are big deals, because you just, if you're a dieter, you're like, well, how many calories is this? Well, oh gosh, is this bad? Or like, should I just not eat for the rest of the day now? You let all of that go. You let it go, and you just go, hey, when I'm hungry and I'm craving a chip wheelie, is what they're called, and they're so good when you're hungry for them. Like right now, I'm not. So if you put it in front of me, I would have no desire to eat it. And when I was a dieter, I would never have thought that. I would have gone, well, it's sitting there. I know I really like this food. I would eat it. No, I would eat it when I was hungry for that. And right now, I'm not, so I wouldn't. That's another thing about a healthy thin mentality that is so much better. And if you're watching this and going, oh, that'll never be me, well, I really, really thought that would never be me either. I really, really thought that I would never be the person who could eat like that. But when you stop dieting, everything changes. So I hope I've made it clear about intermittent fasting. If you have a question or comment about that, post it during the chat or afterwards, and I'll look at it and I'll see it. I'll answer it. So I have 4 questions here from folks that I want to answer. This is someone who's in week 5. We have a workbook, and it goes the first 12 weeks of your Healthy Thin Mentality. She's on week 5, and she's struggling, and she's having a hard time recognizing hunger, doesn't know if she's gaining weight, feels like she might be. This is what you need to hear, that you have been a dieter probably for a long time. 5 weeks is just the beginning. And if you're struggling with recognizing hunger, go over the workbook. I forget where that is in the workbook, but we go over a lot about how to recognize hunger. I'm going to look at it real quick to refresh my memory. But you need to give yourself a chance to reacquaint with what true hunger feels like. And something that someone wrote in our private Facebook group, which is so true, is you actually do need less food than you think. And before that makes you super sad, let me remind you that eating with hunger is a 10, right? Eating without hunger is a 3 in terms of, rating it 1 to 10, whatever, you know what I mean. So the trade-off between eating with hunger, whenever you're hungry, and just being able, if you're on a schedule of eating this and it's kind of good, I'm hungry, but it's really not enough, there's just no comparison. So if you're struggling in the beginning, which of course you are, of course I did too, because I was like, oh, could this be right? What does hunger feel like? Oh, give yourself a chance. Take to heart the exercises in here that help you recognize hunger, and there's a lot of them. And it's a book that looks like this, and it has lots of areas to write in, because what you need to do is I say this a lot of times, it sounds kind of weird, but be your own scientist, where you're like this experiment that you're studying. Like, well, how do I feel when I eat this? And then, things get busy, you forget stuff. Write it down in the workbook, right? Okay, when you felt this kind of hunger and you ate this, you felt great. Or when you thought you were hungry and you ate a hamburger, it felt great, or I felt afterwards, or I needed more, or that was too much, I overate. Just remember that. And then also, another thing that we talked about last week too, we allow for the possibility that every day is actually different. Not, every day, but just allow for the possibility that what you wanted yesterday and made you feel great may not be the same thing you want today. And how do you know? As you start listening to your voice and your voice gets louder, you will be so happily surprised to see how your body provides you the guidance you need to know what, when, and how much to eat. And you will be very reluctant and sad if someone makes you eat more. So an example is, I was somewhere the other night and a friend of mine just really wanted me to try this food. And I haven't talked to her so much about this diets or fattening stuff, because I don't bring it up unless someone asks me, because I'm not going to be pushing it, right? Anyway, and so there was this thing, it was this, it was this little meatball thing. I just didn't want it, and she made me try it. I just, how it goes. And I was so sad. I was like, oh, I don't want this in my mouth. I don't want this in my body. And even though it could have been a food I really liked, I didn't like that anyway. But you'll have that feeling of, I don't want this right now. I don't want this. You will actually aggressively push food away. No, I don't want more, because that ruins my ability to have what I want later. It messes me up. You will get really protective over your choice to eat or not eat. And that's hugely valuable. And when I say, again, back to me saying you need less food than you think, but it's way better. It's way better. There's no guilt, there's no stress. And so I promise it's the trade-off is fantastic. Another person on Facebook wrote a great post about how she was just in France, and she was kind of noticing how French people eat, which they're always thrown up as, a model of healthy thin mentality eating. It's natural for them, right? They haven't been trained out of it. Although I'm sure it's getting more and more that way as years go by, and the diet industry even infiltrates France, which it will. But and she was saying that they walk a lot and they just don't perseverate about food. And yeah, when it's, and I'm not telling you to walk a lot. It's not even that, because people always say, well, the Parisians walk so much, that's why they're thin. I don't think that's it. I think what it is they respect hunger and not hunger, and they enjoy their food. So if you're going to eat let's just say 500 calories just to have a marking point, and you're going to enjoy it immensely and savor it and feel great while you're doing it, versus you're going to eat 500 calories and it's diet food, or it's something you don't really like, or it's not at the right time, you're not really hungry, or you're over hungry. The one where you're eating with calmness and happiness is such a better experience. So you get in a rhythm of eating that way, and it self-sustains. In other words, then the next eating experience is nice because you learned from that one, and on and on. And I think that is, ingrained and reinforced by the way their families eat and everything. But the message I take from that is not to walk more. It's just to be stress-free and enjoy it and realize how beautiful it is. I mean, the French in food, it's like beautiful. They treat it beautifully. And we slam it down sometimes because we're just guilty we're eating it all. And I'm going to say again, because I eat really quickly, so I do kind of slam it down in some ways, which isn't, I don't know if it's not great. Who cares, right? It's just how I eat. But, maybe in the beginning, it's worth slowing down a little bit so you can kind of experience the actual joy and beauty of food, of life-giving food. It's beautiful. And we're trained to stress out about it. We're trained to not think we deserve it because we're heavy. If you're heavy, you still need to eat, right? You still need to eat. It's just to lose weight with the healthy thin mentality. You are just constantly, while you're eating, you don't have to do this for the rest of your life because it'll come naturally after you do it for a while. Just say, could I be done? Could I be done? Could this be the last bite? Would I feel okay? And you pay attention to that, and you will learn that, wow, I thought I always wanted to eat the whole sandwich and all the sides. And then you go, and people are in our Facebook groups, this is probably the most common post. They post a picture of what they ate and say, yeah, and I left this much. Like, as a dieter, you never do that because it could be the last meal before a diet. So you always are in that, I'm going to clean my plate. I'm going to eat it all because it's here, and I don't know if I'm going to allow myself this again. It's the opposite with the healthy thin mentality. And again, to be thin, naturally thin for the rest of your life, learn how to behave like a thin person. And some people say, think thin. Yeah, okay, but it is the actual act of listening and then following up on what you're hearing that creates the behavior, right? And it's the behavior, it's the thoughts, of course, but it's the behavior, the actual eating or not eating that affects your body, right? And so you want to get that behavior reinforced. So when you feel good and you eat when you're hungry, and then you go, I think this is enough. That is that cycle that repeats and repeats and gets stronger and stronger until you get to a point, and you will, where you will completely shun food when you're not hungry. You'll go, why would I eat that? Why am I going to scratch my shoulder? It doesn't itch. Why am I doing that? Well, because that doesn't feel good at all. If it was itchy, it would feel great. So I'm going to wait till it feels itchy, if you know what I mean. Okay. Someone asked me, are there any diet plans you like? Any useful tips you learned from them? Okay, so we talked about intermittent fasting earlier. I do think that waiting for hunger to be strong and not just eating because it's breakfast or eating because it's lunch or eating because it's dinner or having a snack at 10 at night because that's what you do. I think the only thing I would take away from intermittent fasting is the joy of waiting for hunger. And that leads to natural intermittent fasting where you're not eating for longer periods of time than maybe you're used to. And you have that voice in your head that you stop listening to, that voice that says, well, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. No, it's not. Did Kellogg's make that up? I don't know who made that up, but no, it's not. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? No, the most important meal of the day is the one that you enjoy. It's the one that you connect eating with hunger, and it's amazing. It nourishes you. You feel good. We're looking to feel good, right? That's what we're trying to do with Healthy Thin Mentality. That's what we are doing. So, so speaking of intermittent fasting, okay, so now someone asked me, the fourth question, our last question for this week, was about dry fasting. Okay, this is when you don't eat or drink anything, and again, if you're a Tibetan monk and you're doing this as some religious experience, that's fine. But again, I'm here focused on normal people trying to be normal and happy and live in their wonderful bodies that are the only one that you're going to have in your whole life. So living in that beautiful body in a way that is delightful and enjoyable and includes nice food. So why would you do a dry fast? Why would you dehydrate yourself and set off your famine alarm in your head by just not eating for days and days? Yeah, I see people do that and they say, oh, I lost weight. But you know what? They are focused on food way, way more than you want to be. In other words, I've gone 5 days without eating. Oh, great. Well, is that how you want to count your life down? By like counting how many days you haven't eaten? It just makes no sense, and it doesn't work as a lifetime solution. Unless if you're one of those people who want to, fast every week, a day every week. I remember being a dieter and trying that, like Monday, well, I'm just not going to eat on Monday. And, by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, you don't need to do that. You just, if that were necessary to be happy and healthy and in your naturally thin, wonderful state that matches your body type, okay, but it doesn't, guys. It's just another gimmick, and people are making a load of money off of it. No. The message here is to peel that away and reconnect with you. So again, and I say this a lot, I'm not leading you to me. I'm leading you, to your healthy thin mentality, which will be something that you build, you listen to, it'll be uniquely yours. Just like you like certain colors, certain music, certain everything. What you like and enjoy about eating is you. It's part of you. It's a beautiful part of you. And it's like when you were a little kid, you knew, I like chocolate, but I hate coconut or whatever. And it was joyful when you were a kid to think that way and know about yourself. Well, let that be the case with your food now too, where you say, I love salmon broiled, or I love whatever. It doesn't even matter. I can't even think of anything, but it doesn't matter. But just get to know your true food personality, own it, and savor it as a beautiful part of life. And I know, but what about the weight loss? The weight loss occurs when you're eating and you're enjoying it, but you just keep saying, could I be done? Is this enough? Am I satisfied? Is my body calm? Do I still hear hunger screaming at me? Is my mouth filling with saliva when I'm eating? Or is it just, you know how it is when you first take a bite and it's, whoa, yeah. Or even before, when you're hungry and you think about eating and it's like, your body's so smart. It's preparing, it's building saliva in there to take care of that. That's not the only sign of hunger. I want to tell you for sure, there's lots of signs for hunger. You don't have to have a mouthful of saliva to mean you're hungry. Okay, don't go away with that. I'm just saying that's one signal that's a good one for me. You will find your signals, and the way you can back into it, you can go, well, I wasn't sure I was hungry and I took a bite and it was pretty good, but it wasn't amazing. Then you were maybe just moderately hungry, which is okay. But if you can wait till hunger is alive and blooming and feeling powerfully strong, but not making you hangry, not making you feel sick, just strong, like having a strong hunger drive. It's like having a good sex drive, right? It's like having a great drive. Own it, value it, love it, feel proud of it. Oh, I'm hungry. And then you eat and you just go, okay, could that be enough? And then you'll have another experience like that later in the day. There's no sadness here. There's no, oh, I don't get to eat. There's no, oh. If you just want to sit down and eat without hunger, you will not lose weight. You will gain weight. That's where gaining weight happens. I'm here guiding you towards riding that wave of neutrality. When you're not hungry and you're not full, and you should live in your life, you have all your faculties available to you because you're not even dealing with hunger or absence of hunger. You're right there. Then hunger comes and hits you. You take care of it until it's neutral, until you're calm, until your body's quiet. You go on with your life. You do lots of important, wonderful things, and you have fun. And then when hunger comes back, you're like, yes, I get to eat again. That's where your healthy thin mentality is, guys. It is so natural. It is so much better than any other. All diets have you disconnect. So with the question about, are there any diets you like? No. Intermittent fasting, the concept of spreading food out a little bit, like especially for me, maybe different for you, the going to bed not full, just feeling neutral. I'm not hungry, but just feeling neutral. Waking up, I drink coffee, and just having that for a few hours, that feels good to me. And maybe you'll find that you like going from noon till 8. That 8 hours, whatever, it's going to be you to determine how you are. It's very important that you listen to you. When I say listen to, I'm trying to guide you to you, not you to me. That's the important takeaway. All right. Let me know if this is helpful. Please like, share, subscribe. Again, I'm trying to help because there's no comparison in all the misery out there. There's no comparison in having a joyful life with a healthy thin mentality. And there's so many people out there who got it all wrong. And I know I did. So I have lots of empathy. I was a dieter for 25 years and, ages like 14, 15 to 40. And I've been a healthy thin mentality person since the year 2000, and I promise you, you can do it. If I can do it with an enormous diet mentality where, and always worrying about weight and wanting to be thinner, and it's just a waste of your life. You can get there by connecting, by listening to you, okay? So I'll be back. I'll have another What I Ate video, and I'll be back again next Monday. So bring your questions either here, I'll see them all, or on our private Facebook groups and all that stuff. So it's great to be here with you. Thank you for being with me, and I'll be back soon.